Well, Sean Black, super chemist, and we finally moved on to our last playlist was matriarchy versus patriarchy. This playlist is called news and propaganda. What's the difference? You know what I mean? How did it come to fruition that our news has turned into propaganda? How did that happen? Okay. First of all, we're going to talk about the fairness doctrine. Okay, the fairness doctrine, like 48 or 49, 1949, somewhere around there. We got rid of the fairness doctrine. Okay. And what is the fairness doctrine? Okay, the fairness doctrine has to do with news programs, news outlets. Okay. And back in the day when we had ABC, NBC, CBS, and that was it, even before Fox, there was only three main networks, and we had the fairness doctrine, and it basically said if you had now if it wasn't news, it's fine. You could do whatever you want, but if you call yourself news, right, you had to give both sides of a story. Okay, so like this thing about Trump he said that that illegals coming across the border are Mexican and all Mexicans are rapists and whatever. You know what I mean? The reason why they get away with that is because they don't have to put on the counter. Because if you had to put on both sides, then you'd have a guy there saying, "Hey, well, here's a clip of it. Let's show the clip of him," and then they'd show Trump not saying what they were saying. You know what I mean? Or like the CNN will use a small clip. So it looks like Trump is saying one thing, but he's not. If you just instead of showing 10 seconds, you show 30 seconds, you would plainly see that CNN is lying. If you had that counter person there, in the news, then you would have the news. So the difference between news and propaganda is one-sided. It's biased. It only tells one side, okay? That is literally what propaganda is. And a lot of times it includes lies, but it doesn't have to include lies. What is news? News is, by definition, shows both sides. That's what it is, okay? And that's why it should be illegal to call yourself news, right? And only show one side, because by definition, the news shows both sides, and you are breaking the law. It's like, it's false advertisement. You know what I mean? You're advertising yourself as news, but you're not the news, okay? And it used to be illegal to do that. It was called the fairness doctrine, and that you had to be fair about when you're talking about political stuff or things that are the whole country would be not just some murder thing. I'm talking about a thing that affects the whole country, like a political type thing or something like that. You have to tell both sides of the story. Otherwise, you get propaganda, okay? And so it used to be illegal. You didn't have to be 50-50. You could be in those news programs, but it had to be like at least 80-20. You know what I mean? If you have 80% of the talking time is to this side, then you have to give at least 20% to the other side to combat what you were saying. This made things, so you couldn't lie as much. It's hard to lie and say Trump said this when you have a other person there that can stand up and show the actual whole clip of it and say, "You're lying. I got a clip right here showing you're lying." Yeah, it's hard to lie then. But it's easy to lie when you don't have that other counter person there. And you can just say whatever you want, no matter how much of a big lie it is, and there's no one there to counter you, And the reason why they stopped it, right, that they got rid of the fairness doctrine, was because they said, oh, it takes away from your First Amendment rights, right? Because they're saying what happened was, because of the fairness doctrine, news programs weren't bringing up things that they wanted to bring up because they didn't want a counterpart person there going against it. So it actually made news go down instead of up in quality because they didn't want to bring up things if they were forced to let the other side talk. You know what I mean? Basically, if they couldn't lie, they were like, well, if I can't lie, I'm not going to put it on the news. You know what I mean? And so they said it was against but it wasn't against our First Amendment rights of free speech. Because as a news program, you know, just like as an attorney, if you're my attorney, you don't have the freedom to lie to me. Just like the news, you don't have the freedom to lie. You don't have the freedom to whatever. That doesn't take away. You don't have a First Amendment speech to just lie when you're talking about business, and news is business, right? I watch your program. I watch your advertisements. The advertisements pay you, the news, to put the news on. We're all intertwined in this business arrangement, right? I listen to the ads. You display the ads, and we watch your news. So basically, they got rid of the fairness doctrine. So now it made it legal. And keep in mind, even with the fairness doctrine, anyone could go on, like Rush Limbaugh. He could go on because he wasn't news. He was a commentator. Anyone could be a biased commentator. Rush Limbaugh was, I guess he was always on the Republican side. Same way with the Democrats today, like CNN. CNN, even under the fairness doctrine, they could be one-sided. They just can't legally call themselves the news, because at that point you're not the news. Because the definition of the news is you give both sides, right? So you're lying if you're not, you know, you're false advertising. That doesn't destroy anyone's freedom of speech. As an attorney, I can't lie to you about law. As you know, if I'm at Walmart or whatever and I work there and you ask the price, I got to tell you what the price is. I can't just lie or whatever. You know what I mean? I got to tell you. I got to do. You know, it's the same way with the news. If you're news, by definition, you have to tell both sides. It's not ruining your First Amendment right or whatever because you want to be a propaganda machine. So anyways, we got rid of that. So when you look at the news and you say, what? And Fox News is a propaganda machine too. They're all propaganda machines. All of them on cable TV or regular TV. Why are they though? Because you voted it. You let it. We all let it. Me too. We let them get rid of the fairness doctrine. We let them make it legal for news outlets to be propaganda machines. Whereas before this law, it was illegal for a news outlet to be a propaganda machine. So why is the news propaganda? Because if they got a choice between propaganda and news, they're going to pick propaganda. But they're still going to always call themselves news unless we make it illegal. Okay? So why do we have propaganda? Because we made it legal. Just like why did we have slavery? Because we made it legal. Why did we have, why are illegal aliens just beating the hell out of cops in Times Square and on national TV? Why? Because we made it legal. Why are our politicians corrupt as hell? Because we made it legal. Just like anything, it's because we made it legal. So instead of blaming, blame yourself because you care. You care about your government being a charity fund, and you'll never give up your charity fund, okay, to actually fix what's wrong with the government, right? But and then another thing is the the U.S. Information and Educational Exchange Act, or commonly known as the Smith-Mundt, M-U-N-D-T Act. Smith-Mundt Act. Now, what did this act do? Well, before this, right, it was illegal for the CIA to go into a U.S. news outlet and start making propaganda. Okay. See, it was always legal to do it in other countries. Since the CIA has been existed, it's always been illegal for them to go to any country they want, take over the news outlets, start chirping out propaganda left and right. Okay, that's always been legal. It's always been legal, is legal, and always will be legal, probably. even though we should change that. But we have this Smith-Mundt Act, okay? And we didn't get rid of the Smith-Mundt Act. We just changed it. We amended it. We changed it. What did we change? We changed that part of it that said the CIA is not allowed to come into our, they can infiltrate news outlets anywhere in the world, but not in our backyard, not in our country. We don't want propaganda machines. We want news, okay? And we changed this law. We amended it so that now the CIA, it is legal. Illegal. That's why CNN, if you go through, it's like NASA. You go through NASA and you say, "How Hitler," they'll be, well, maybe not now because it's whatever, but back in my day, like when I was, 20 or whatever, hey, you go to NASA, you're like, "Hell Hitler," I guarantee you 90% of them are going to put their hand up just from reflex and be "Hell Hitler." You know what I mean? Just like if you go into, I forget what I was even talking about. What are we talking about? All this. Oh, this is just like now. I guarantee you go into CNN. If you probably 10% of them people working at CNN are either in the CIA right now or they're out of the CIA but used to be, and they're still feeding information back, and directing what stories are told, what stories aren't told, and what blah 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 blah. CNN is basically run by the CIA at this point. You know what I mean? And it's been a while since it's true. But why? Why? Because we made it legal. That's what kills me. That's why all my videos are all about how just totally batshit crazy stuff. Okay, I don't have nothing that is like, oh, it's kind of debatable. No, everything I say is like, no, it's 100% batshit crazy. Okay, just like this. We complain that we have propaganda machines instead of news machines, right? And then, but we did it. We voted for it. We won't change it because the only way to change it is stop using the government as a charity fund, and no one wants to stop using the government as a charity fund. So, now, next time you complain about Fox, or you complain about CNN, and how they're propaganda machines, and how you might not even know, but how the CIA is basically infiltrated all of our newscast places, outlets. Now it's because of you. Because you don't go out and say, "Hey, government, I won't vote for anyone into the government unless they will change these laws to fix the government." No, we won't never fix the government because the government always says, "Yeah, well, we can give you this money here. Oh, you're black? Oh, we can give you money here for this, that way. Yeah, but you can't have both. You can even have my free money, or you can change the laws and fix the government." You know what I mean? "Oh, you're a woman? Oh, we'll give you this. We'll give you this." If you just don't try to change any, always concentrate on what money we can give you. Never try to concentrate on how to actually fix the government so that it actually works the way it's supposed to. Yeah. That never crosses anyone's mind. It's always about, even like they spent $20 billion on the illegal aliens. They could have spent it on this or no. They could have spent it on paying off our national debt. Quit saying they could have spent it on something else. They could have spent it on this, and they could have spent it on. They shouldn't have spent it on anything. They're not a charity fund. They're a government. Why can't people understand that they are not a charity fund? If you use them like a charity fund, then what you get is corruption. What you get is laws like this that make news into propaganda. Okay? That's what you get. I don't know. It's just my thoughts, I guess, and only mine. No one else shares them, apparently, except for a handful of people.